It's no secret that I don't like Disney Star Wars. I have talked about it over and over and over again on this channel. We have talked about the problems. We have called out Lucasfilm. We have called out their employees. They've responded because that's the type of people Lucasfilm hires, and that's the type of culture that Lucasfilm has created. But it was always bigger than Lucasfilm. It was always bigger than Disney Star Wars. And these things actually were starting prior to Disney Star Wars. It happened with Ghostbusters 2016, and it happened with a few other properties, but it wasn't until Disney Star Wars that really elevated this in a lot of people's minds, mine included. Now, I had noticed the problems, but it wasn't to a point where I was really ready to call it out until I started to see what was happening with Disney Star Wars. But again, it was always bigger than Star Wars. Star Wars was the launching point for Disney because they saw George Lucas's vision, and it's not that they wanted to just ruin George Lucas's vision. It was the fact that they saw the platform that George Lucas created. It was about the fan base of 40 years that was there, and they knew that they would be able to benefit from that. So even if they lost half of the fan base, they were still able to go, we made $1 billion. We made this much money. You lost 50% of your audience from The Force Awakens to The Rise of Skywalker, but the end result was them being able to say, we made $4 billion on the sequel trilogy. It doesn't matter that it's a trash fire. It doesn't matter that it's a disaster, because they never want to create new properties to push their identity politics. They want to hijack pre-existing fan bases and properties that has a foundation that they can then capitalize off of that foundation. And even if they're going to lose 50% of that audience, they will still be able to say, look how big of a following we have, because context and facts don't matter. We have seen this over and over again. We knew this was happening. We were telling you this was happening, but it was not just about Star Wars. It was so much bigger than Star Wars. In a lot of ways, it's bigger than Hollywood and it's bigger than entertainment, but that's what we're focusing on here. And now you've seen it yet again, where they're going to come for your favorite property. My favorite property is G.I. Joe, and we're seeing G.I. Joe ruined by identity politics. We've seen it in the comics over the years, and now we're seeing it on the big screen. But this is about Lord of the Rings. Now, I don't talk about Lord of the Rings very much on this channel. It's not because I don't love Lord of the Rings, because I do. I think it's the greatest 3 movies ever made. They're not my favorite. But when you take Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King, I believe that those are the 3 greatest films ever made. I just think they're fantastic. I think it's a fascinating world. What Peter Jackson was able to do by bringing Tolkien's world to life is truly something that I don't know will ever be recreated. And Ian McKellen's Gandalf, to me, is probably my favorite movie character ever. He's easily one of the greatest characters in the history of cinema. But now you have a fan site that is well connected to the Lord of the Rings fandom, now using the identity politics nonsense to go after fans, creating a fake boogeyman. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Here is the fan site. Well, this is Bleeding Fool, but we're talking about the fan site One Ring Net, because One Ring Net is going after everyone. And they're targeting my friend Gary from Nerdrotic. It's disgusting, but we have so much to talk about with this particular topic. Now, Amazon is working on a Lord of the Rings television series, and that television series is reportedly, the first season got a budget of $465 million. That's right. Insane. Like, absolutely insane numbers. And you look at that, and you're like, you got a lot on the line. You probably shouldn't attack your fans. But again, we've seen this so many times over the years. They're going to attack the fans. They're going to create a fake boogeyman, because this is what they do. We're at a point where they have said that they're talking about Ian McKellen and the homophobic attacks. And my response to this was, Ian McKellen's Gandalf is one of the single greatest characters in the history of cinema. The only discussion about his sexuality is coming from freaks like you. And that is true. No one else is talking about it. No one else. No one else is talking about his sexuality. You may find one person here or one person there. That's it. And they're probably trolls. But the fact that they're trying to create a victim narrative out of this and then go after fans, and now they're calling just some guy a white supremacist. That's right. Just some guy. He's a black guy from Chicago. But because he has an opinion to respect the lore, he's suddenly a white supremacist. Again, it was always bigger than Star Wars. It was always bigger than Star Wars. Star Wars was just the biggest property that they wanted to utilize. So a lot of this is talking about the buildup and the market. And it says the Lord of the Rings series will also reportedly set to feature sexually explicit scenes. Why? Why in the world does the Lord of the Rings need this? Explain that to me. Tolkien fans, as well as Catholics, are up in arms following rumors that the billion-dollar show could be rather raunchier than the source material. Tolkien site The One Ring found a number of casting call and crew member additions to the series, which, like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies, is being filmed in New Zealand. Others found a casting call from Kiwi agency BGT, which is seeking talent who are comfortable with partial or full nudity for background roles. Why? Because they are trying to take a beloved franchise and use it for their horrific nonsense. And I'm not going to get fully into that, but we know what Hollywood's all about. The One Ring also notes that production has hired Jennifer Ward Leland, who is an experienced intimacy coordinator who will be the liaison for any sex or nude scenes. Now, being upset about this means that you're going to get attacked by this fan site. Catholic fans of the late author J.R.R. Tolkien are now taking action, petitioning against nudity in the forthcoming show. They have hired intimacy coaches and have asked that the actors are comfortable with doing nude scenes, and the casting warns a new petition on change.org that has collected tens of thousands of signatures. And then it said, in October of last year, The Independent reported that Lord of the Rings fans were dismayed by rumors of Game of Thrones-esque sex and nudity in the Amazon TV adaptation. J.R.R. Tolkien's original fantasy books did not include any sexual content, and neither did the film's adaptation directed by Peter Jackson. Gary from Nerdrotic weighs in. Now, if you want a real take on Lord of the Rings, I would advise you to go listen to Gary from Nerdrotic. The dude knows his stuff about not only everything pretty much, but specifically Lord of the Rings. So I will link that video below. Meanwhile, The One Ring is now pandering to the rainbow activist and labeling J.R.R. Tolkien as woke. That's right. And here you have it. Listen.
We've been dealing with homophobic comments for decades, and it's still wrong. Whatever toxic arguments are being said now about Lord of the Rings fandom and adaptations is the same trash that Ian McKellen was the worst afford to Tolkien's legacy ever.
What are you talking about? You're literally creating a boogeyman that does not exist because you want to play the victim, because you want to trash the fan base. Like, who is saying that Ian McKellen is the worst? Who's saying that? Like, seriously, who in the world is saying this? It's truly mind-blowing to me. I just... I don't understand how they just invent shit. And then, right here is just some guy. Are you talking about this? Some chat rooms 20 years ago? Come on. No one thinks Amazon show will suck because the actors might be gay. People think it'll suck because Amazon isn't going to respect the lore. Quote unquote, respect the lore is becoming coded language for racist perspectives on text that never describes color. Again, creating a boogeyman that does not exist. These are literally the same arguments that we were having with Lucasfilm weirdos and sequel trilogy fans. They just invent things that do not matter. They do not exist. They don't even exist. The Kelly Marie Tran thing is another classic example. They have used this poor, sweet, innocent girl for their lies and their nonsense against the fan base. That's what they do. They've invented things that never happened simply because they need a boogeyman, because they can't find anyone actually doing this, anyone of relevance. They can't find it, so they just say that it happened. And then when you challenge them to give context or to back up their claims, then they fall back into the victim narrative. It's unbelievable. And they've deleted this tweet apparently now. That one right there, the respect the lore, it looks like they have deleted that one. So as you can see, that page does not exist. And Gary's going to destroy them because that's what he does. In 20 years of being obsessed with the films, I've never once heard anyone, not a single soul, say anything negative about Ian McKellen, let alone anything about him being gay. Stop being a fool. And this is what they do. And it's not going to stop as long as we continue to hire activists to have control over these properties. It's never going to stop. So again, it was always bigger than Star Wars. Star Wars was the point to where it really elevated it in a lot of people's minds to say, hey, wait a minute, this is a problem. You guys are taking something that's highly successful and highly beloved, and you're changing it, and you're saying that it was not diverse, but now you're claiming it's diverse, but that's a lie. That's not true. And now they're sitting here saying that Ian McKellen has been facing decades and decades of harassment because of his sexuality, yet literally, who has done this? Who has done this? Again, objectively, Ian McKellen's Gandalf, one of the greatest fictional characters in the history of movies. And it's not even close. So who said this? No one has said this. But you're just inventing things. And it will continue to happen. They're going to come for your favorite property. And it's bigger than just entertainment. It's far bigger. And I've covered a lot of that over on my personal channel, D-Day Cobra. So you can go to check that out if you want. It's far bigger than entertainment. This is bleeding over into sports. This is bleeding over into comics. This is bleeding over into real world politics, your day job. It's going to impact all of it as long as we sit here and allow it. Call these people out, hold them accountable, and stop falling for their bullshit. Unbelievable. Please go check out Gary's videos on this stuff. I can't wait to see everything he's going to produce. We're obviously going to talk about this on Friday Night Tights a lot because there's a ton to get into. But at the end of the day, this is what we've been standing against. It's not about a movie. It's about a bigger problem that we have been seeing from the beginning. This is about destroying everything. Every single thing in their path. They will invent reasons for why they need to take a stand, even though that reason has no justice whatsoever. There's no proof to support it. They will still run with it because this is the type of freaks that they are. Unbelievable. Either way, you guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you've been enjoying all of the content from Geeks and Gamers, whether that's here on the main channel, Sports Wars, Park Hoppin', my personal channel, Gaming with Geeks, our Twitch channel, our website. A lot of good things in the works. Love you all. I appreciate you all. Have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Solo did lose money. Raylos are weird. Fuck Lucasfilm. And we will talk to you later.